Right. Right.
Yeah.
I would love to follow up with that.
Right?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me? Yeah.
I think
Okay,
everyone
great.
said that.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, Matt. I've been sitting here all day thinking about everything you just said, Jen, because this situation it needs to be addressed like now. And I think I've been thinking, like, what is it that we can do? I've had, Buddy lived to be almost 13, and his whole life, he was covered by ASPCA pet insurance. And I know there's different various insurances, and Rebecca and I were, we were talking about that. And I believe, Rebecca, you also use ASPCA as well.
Yes.
Okay, so and the very first time I remember submitting an insurance claim for Buddy, my sweet Buddy, it seemed to be. I just remember I had all the receipts from the veterinarian office. I believe I took photographs of them, and then I submitted them online. Mm-hmm. And then they weeks later got back to me. I can't remember how long it took, but it wasn't right away. Right. And they got back to me, and they said, right. And I remember in particular, there was one, Buddy had a sty on his eyelid, and it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So we were in Vancouver at the time, and I found a vet, and he said, yeah, I can remove that sty. It'll be about $500, that type of thing. I said, okay, it'll be a 10-hour procedure. We'll have to bring him in early in the morning. You know how that goes. Right. And yeah. I picked him up in the evening, and he was, drowsy and groggy, and he had the cone of shame, and I put him in the car, and I said, okay, I'm going to submit my claim. And I very vividly remember getting back the claim or the refund, the reimbursement, and I think it was $70. Like it was. I remember looking at what they sent me, and I said, "Is this wrong?" So that's just one example of thousands, perhaps tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of individual cases where people have had these experiences with pet insurance companies, and subsequent claims were the same. I can confidently say that I have never had a good experience with ASPCA pet insurance, and I think that us talking about this now is an awesome first step towards finding a better way, to do this, So,
yeah. And even vet offices, running a sliding scale fee for families who can't afford things, to figure out how to have a payment plan in place. Right. And if you miss, there's a penalty, and if you miss 3, then you're going to court, or something. I mean, there's ways that they can protect themselves, along with creating better business practices for us as their clients. So I just don't, and I'm not saying that all of them are right. Don't have them. I'm sure some right. of them do. I don't want to clump everybody together, right. But the majority, from what I've seen, don't have anything like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, let me just also say, I'm not trying to badmouth ASPCA. I'm a huge supporter. Like I donate to them every year, but I didn't, when I got Buddy, he was a little 12-week-old, tiny little chocolate dot. And, I said, well, I'm going to get insurance for him, right. And I have insurance, he'll have insurance, and I'm a strong believer in pet adoption. So I'm all about, supporting what they do in terms of helping out pets who need homes. But the insurance part of what they do, I have a problem with. So, yeah.
Well, it's actually ASPCA. When you call, and I've been noticing maybe they've been having issues. When you call, they say ASPCA does not offer insurance. This other company offers insurance through our name. So they're not actually this ASPCA.
Okay.
And I just recently learned that myself because
okay.
I kept thinking, how could ASPCA have such terrible insurance?
Right.
And they don't. It's not actually.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So it's another company that they're contracting, and then they use the ASPCA moniker, the name.
Yeah, and I mean, I had a similar, experience as you did, Rick. I know we spoke about this when I saw you last. With my dog, who, as some of you know, or some of you may not know, Whiskey had hip replacement surgery recently, and I said, I called ASPCA. It was a $10,000 surgery, and it happened right in the middle of COVID, where I mean, everybody can attest, financial times are tough. This is a unprecedented situation. And I said, how am I going to afford this surgery? I can't. I have no job. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I submitted the claim like they told me to. And they said, we can't guarantee it'll be covered. We can't even guarantee how much we'll cover. If we find that it's a pre-existing condition, it won't be covered.
Right.
It's a year and a half. How could this be a pre-existing condition? It's very rare for a dog that age to have.
That's their out right there.
Yeah. And that's the reason for everything. And, I know with dogs like Goomba, and Buddy and Whiskey, all these dogs have these conditions that, whether they're mixed or not, one of the breeds has pre-existing or conditions that you're more likely going to get.
Right. For example, hip dysplasia, that sort of thing that happens in Buddy's case.
Yeah.
He's a Labrador Retriever, and right around age 9 or 10, it started happening. So
yeah.
And so I guess my whole reason for wanting to say that, aside from kind of shedding light on what I've been experiencing, and she had this hip replacement surgery almost 2 months ago, and I still have no idea what's covered, if anything is covered. I spoke with the insurance company the other day. They said, we're still processing it. I don't know what's covered. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll expedite it and we'll see what happens, basically. Right. So it's kind of like a brush off. But yeah. Because of what I went through with Whiskey, and because I had to reach out to the animal loving community for help, which I hate asking for money. I hate asking for help, but I had no choice. It was unbelievable the amount of support and love I got from people, and
we love you.
and that's kind of what, really inspired me to do this.
Right.
Healing Paws, because I know there's so many people who can't afford pet insurance. Getting so many stories from people, even when I posted my own story, saying, I can't afford this procedure. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's sad. And some are saying, I don't know, it's going to be a matter of life or death. I don't know what to do. That shouldn't happen.
It should never be the option,
exactly.
life or death.
Right. And that's not the case. I mean, you go into a doctor's office, if you have insurance, right then and there, you're covered or you're not.
Yep.
You know what is right. There is no guessing game for the most part.
Or even after your surgery, for you can arrange to make payments with the hospital.
Yep.
That's right.
We have options. Yep. Why don't our pets have options?
There are no payment plans for pets.
Exactly.
Most vet offices, as far as I know, I can't attest to every single one.
Right.
But you paid right then and there.
The majority. Yeah.
That's definitely been my experience. It's like, in Buddy's last years, he was fighting an incredibly rare form of skin cancer, which ultimately took his life. In fact, I remember his doctors had an awesome doctor in Vancouver, Dr. Wallace at Granville Veterinarian Hospital, and she said he has a very, very, very rare skin cancer that I haven't seen in about 10 years. And she said we're in for a fight. So we took it step by step. And I did everything that she wanted us to do. And I love her. I love my dog. I love the whole experience with working with him. It wasn't their fault, in terms of my bad experience with the insurance companies. So it's like there's this sort of disconnect. Like you guys just said, like if you break your arm, you go to the emergency room, and then they say, okay, well, we can fix your arm. You have insurance. The first question is, do you have insurance? And then you go in, and 6 hours later, hopefully, your arm's together, and you're on the mend for another 6 weeks or so, whatever the situation is. But if you have insurance, you have a decent insurance plan, all of that should be covered.
Yeah.
And in the case of our pets, we don't know. You know, it's just sort of like it's just up in the air. We don't know, you know, what's covered, what's not covered, and as Rebecca just said, you basically pay everything up front, you know, and I think that's really, really, really hard for a lot of people. You know, if you're told that you have to pay $3,800 like right now, you know, I think that's exorbitantly unfair. You know?
Right.
Yeah, and if you can't, you're turned away. Your dog or cat or lizard or whatever doesn't get what they need, and that's not right.
Right.
I know I said I was going to wait till the end, but Mallory's been shaking her head a lot in agreement. So I just want to know, Mallory, do you have a story you want to share? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can unmute. Let's see.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Mallory.
Hi, my friend. How are you? I have to share
It's so
this.
good. Yeah, so I'm like this. Hey, that's when I was young and pretty.
I know. You still are, my friend. You still are.
Oh, you are too.
These are, I don't know if you can see them. These are my puppies.
Oh my gosh.
Charlotte
Oh,
Terrier.
God, it's so cute.
And Shadow's the lab.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mute myself because my nieces and nephews are storming down the stairs and it's gonna get really loud. So
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we've been living in California. I'm in Pennsylvania now, but last year we were getting ready to move. We had just sold our house in California. I'd purchased a house out here in Pittsburgh, and I came home from being in Pittsburgh for 3 weeks, and I noticed the first night I'm home, Charlotte is squatting, and like she's trying to go to the bathroom. She's like straining. You can just see it. And I said to my husband, because he'd been with the dogs while I was gone, I said, "How long has this been going on?" He said, "That's the first I've seen of it." So he ran her the next morning up to the vet. The vet did an x-ray, said she had kidney stones. So they sent her to a specialist. So they had to do a CAT scan. Then they decided, they had to operate on her. Then send the stones to the lab. And she had to stay at the facility for, I don't know, 2 or 3 days. $6,000. Fortunately, I had a care credit account from years ago. I had some dental work and I'd paid it off, but so I was able to put it on the care credit account because we had Banfield pet insurance. They didn't cover anything.
Right.
yeah.
And now she's on a prescription diet that I have to buy. And that's $120 a month just to feed her. Because she can't go on regular food. They felt the kidney stones would start up again.
And so that's never covered. The food is never covered.
No.
Yeah, never.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So she's been on that for over a year. That was the end of April that happened. And then she came home in the cone of shame, and we had to keep her separated from Shadow for a while. So we got one of those little cages to keep her in. And she's recovered completely, and she's fine. And she made the trip cross country with us in the car, and she's doing great.
Yeah.
She's actually, we were in a single story house in California. Here we're in a 2-story. And she goes charging up and down those stairs, and she was a little chubby, but she's taken off like 10 pounds. So she's in great shape right now. The vet said she's in fantastic shape. She's been doing really well, and she's 7, almost 8. She'll be 8 in February, but she's doing real good. But still, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's a lot of money.
What do you do? It's traumatic.
Yeah.
Your baby's suffering. And to me, they are, Rick, I know you feel the same way. They're your babies.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're your babies. But I had surgery
Always,
on my foot in January, and I only had to pay a couple $100.
Yeah.
So as a torn tendon, I had surgery. I was in a cast for 2 months and had physical therapy, and it was like nothing by comparison.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
It really makes me feel bad,
Yeah.
Animals are not treated.
No.
Yes, I understand that we're humans. It's, people look at us differently. Animals, and this is said so often, they don't have a voice. We are their voice.
Right.
So if we don't speak up for them, no one will. And I feel like a lot of people still look at them like, oh, they're just creatures. They're not.
Right.
They're family. I mean,
Absolutely.
my dogs are here right now, and you see me looking around, making sure they're not getting. They're my kids,
And is snoozing in his kennel, snoring.
Yeah.
He's totally not interested in anything.
I'm gonna unmute everybody and so that way we can have a little more of a conversation about this.
Okay.
Because I do think it's a very important conversation to have.
Yeah.
And then we'll go back on mute and kind of move forward in our discussion about what Buddies is and things like that. Sound good?
Yeah.
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 All right, let me unmute.
Yeah. So everyone can hear everybody, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All good. So I don't know if Michelle, I saw you nodding your head before about the food. Do you have issues with insurance as well?
Yeah, well, at one point we had 6. We had 3 miniature fox terriers and 3 toy fox terriers.
Nice.
We were, yeah, 4 were born in our home. 2 came to us at a young age, and they are on a special diet that has to be fed, and we pay out of pocket every month, and it is prescribed. By the grace of God, we have a amazing vet that we came across because my sister was a barber, and somebody sat in her chair and said, "Hey, by the way, I go to this vet, and you should go." And we had a little girl that had cancer, and our vet said, "You need to just chop her leg off." That's the only, and it was $2,000, and we didn't have the money. And we went to the vet, and he said, "It'll be $400. And I said, "Are you sure? Because we're low income and we're paying out of pocket." And when we came out of surgery, the total surgery was like $900. And when I picked her up, I said, "You quoted this and it's this amount." And he said, "No, I quoted this and that's what you're going to pay." And every surgery, she had 4 surgeries before she passed. And every surgery, what he quoted is what we paid.
Wow.
Right on.
And it did. And the food that they're on, literally, the dad to all the pack has now bladder cancer, and they're so good. They I was telling Jen before the whole Zoom call that he doesn't call them by their names. He calls them kiddos. Your little kiddos, and they're so great with them, and they try everything, and it's not a just, and if I go back, so if I take them once to the vet for something and I have to go back 20 times for that same exact something, I only get charged the first visit. Everything else is just go back, and it's a free visit every single time.
That's great.
So he's just been fantastic. And yeah, our food costs, though, it's about $100 a month for our food. But
are you using the? If I may ask, are you also on a special diet plan that's prescribed by the doctor?
Yeah, it's a Hill's liver diet.
Right.
We were using Call of the Wilds. I think it's called Call of the Wild, and they are high in pesticides, high in metals, and very bad for terriers, and have a lawsuit against them.
A lot of dog food companies do.
We've lost 2 dogs so far to them because of their food. We thought we were doing right by it. They were $90 a bag, so we thought we were doing right. We went to actually a high-end, dog and cat, animal. It's called Northwest Pets here. It's kind of like a bougie, animal company to buy it. They told us it was the best on the market, and it wasn't.
It wasn't.
It just and we stopped immediately. So we've lost 2 of our babies from it.
I'm sorry, it's getting a puzzle piece. Hold on. Hey,
so sorry to hear that. So sorry to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we immediately stopped it, and the Hills has kind of turned them around.
Yeah. You know, it's so, I mean, for me, when I got Buddy, I think, well, when I got Buddy, I had just turned 40. So I hadn't had a dog probably since I was maybe 8 years old.
Oh, cute.
So, hey, look at the baby.
This is my little guy that has cancer.
Oh,
He's the dad of our
he's
group.
very handsome, very, very handsome.
He thinks he has to be up here with me.
Yeah. How old is he?
He just turned 13 on the 19th.
Oh, okay. Well, happy 13th birthday. Yeah. When I got Buddy, I hadn't had a dog since I was, you know, your daughter's age. I was very, very young. I was maybe 8 years old, 9 years old, you know, the last time I had a dog. And then I turned 40 and I said, you know what, I really want a dog. So after a few months of sort of thinking about it, you know, I decided that I really wanted a Labrador Retriever, you know. In particular, I wanted a chocolate Labrador Retriever. So I found my little guy I wasn't sure, you know, it was pretty green, you know, I had to, you know, I had a very steep learning curve. You know, I had to buy the right food. I learned which food wasn't good, which, you know, that you learn, you know, and people tell you and people help you. We tried to do raw diet for a while, but wasn't working out, you know, and everyone has their own, you know, different story, you know, of their experience with trying a raw diet. Ultimately I decided that I would just feed him natural balance dog food, which he was on, you know, most of his life. I tried a couple of different ones. Taste of the Wild, I tried that one. But then after a while, he kind of wasn't really digging it so much. So we went back to natural balance and tried a different one just to kind of give him, you know, switch it up, you know. But most of the time, Buddy was on natural balance. And you bring up an excellent point that, you know, what we feed our dogs is so critical to their health, you know, and how their bodies react to literally what they're putting, just like us, you know, like what they are eating, you know, is so much, it's very indicative of quality of health that they have. So I tried most of Buddy's in terms of his life, in terms of his lifestyle. Like, you know, people always said, well, maybe you might be giving him a little bit, maybe too many treats. But you know, I spoiled the hell out of him because I loved him so much. And I made sure that we got a lot of exercise, and he loved to swim. But then something happens and you have to take your dog to the vet. And I would say that most of the time the experiences with the doctors that Buddy had were 90% really great. But then we had a couple of vets who were just not, they didn't really even, you can tell they just didn't really care. You know, it was just a paycheck for them, you know, or they were maybe near retirement and they just, you know, they didn't really care anymore, you know. So, but most of the time, the experience with his medical personnel were great. But it was the experience with the insurance companies that were always left me pretty pissed off, you know. And even after Buddy passed away, I remember calling and speaking to an actual person, which is really hard to do, and saying, you know, my dog passed away. I would like it if you could close his account, because you're still charging my credit card, you know, $40, $50 a month. And then the young lady was like, well, okay, well, are you sure you don't want to keep it open for a little bit longer? Like, do you have any other bills you want to submit to us, you know, in sort of end of life stuff? And I said, my dog is gone, you know, you know what I mean? Like, they were still trying to get another 2 or 3 more payments out of my card. And that really, really pissed me off, you know. And he had already been cremated and everything, you know. So, and I remember speaking with her, obviously I'll never know who she is, but she was so business, like so cold, you know. There was no like humanity, you know, in terms of talking to this person on the phone, you know. And you know, I just lost my child, you know. But for her, it was, you know, a matter of, well, can we keep you on the policy for another 2 or 3 months, you know? And like, for what, you know? So
yeah, and that's kind of the thing, is that these are our babies. I've literally lost family members over them saying, can you put them outside? I don't like dogs. And I'm like, if I have to choose them over you, you go home and don't come back. They don't go outside. I'm sorry, they live here. They don't.
They live here too. That's right.
I mean, literally, yeah. It's to a point where Jen knows this, that as they pass, they're being cremated, put together, and my husband and I will be cremated and put with them, and our kids are dividing us. That's how much of a pack we are. They're our babies.
Yeah,
They're just,
for sure.
yeah, I can understand that. They're just not replaceable. I can't. Yeah, who just does that? Like, and that just is so wrong. Yeah, I know the one day that he got really sick, we took him in and the vet said, you can just drop him off. The lady's like, you can drop him off and just leave him. And in between times, we'll look at him and you can pick him up. And I said, okay. And I said, I dropped him off and I said, and I called and I said, okay, well, I'm sitting around back. I don't have air conditioner in my car. And I said, I'm just sitting around the back of your building. And it was about a month ago. And she said, okay, the doctor came out the back door and he goes, you're not leaving, are you? I said, nope. I said, you drop your kid off? I'm like, you have children. Would you just drop your kid off at the pediatrician and say, I'll be back later? He goes, nope. I said, well, that's the same way I feel about my dogs. I said, I can't do it. He said, well, if you're going to be home, I said, nope, I'm not leaving them. I don't leave. We stay with them 24/7. So he said, okay, I'll let you go home with them. And that's what we do. So I can understand.
I feel like it's not necessarily an issue with the veterinarians themselves. The veterinarians themselves often do. They're some of the biggest animal fans you'll ever meet. It's an issue with the insurance companies themselves. Because the insurance companies themselves, that's where you get into where it's a money thing. The veterinarians, they got into that business not because they thought it would make them rich, but because they loved animals, most of them.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about the issue, the problem, the main problem, it is the fact that it's such a business, not run by people that care about the animals, that care about them like they are our kids, like they are. And that's really, I think, the root is most veterinarians, I think, would be on board with what we're discussing and what we're talking about here. It's getting the insurance companies to come to that realization.
And also, you know, most veterinarians, they work for veterinary practices. So it's not necessarily their business. They're doing their job in that office, but that office is run as a business. Just like Banfield is part of.
Oh, she froze.
No. Oh, yeah. They
right? And so that's so.
She lives in an area that it freezes a lot.
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's, you know, I think that also just shows you kind of like, you never know what's going to happen with anything.
Exactly. Yeah, we've not been able to get insurance on any of our dogs because we always get told it's a pre-existing. First, it was they were too old. It's their age, their type. They wanted. I've had so many excuses that I literally gave up. We got care credit, and I've depended on care credit their whole life. I gave up on insurance because of it. Yet my cousin lives in New York, and she's a foster mom to over 15 dogs right now. They live on an old army base housing and has a beach and everything. She does rehab, but she does cancer dogs pretty much. But the state of New York pays her to take, like they do chemo and everything for these dogs. And it's crazy how from one state to another, how it differs, that they take care of so many, but yet here in Idaho, we can't even get, insurance for for us. Like, I can't even get them to insure my dogs because they're like, no, it's pre-existing. I'm like, they've never been, you know, I have ones that have never been sick, no, nothing. And they're like, oh no, because others have been sick, you know, they're pre-existent.
Right. I mean, that seems to be the word that is their escape. You know, it's pre-existing.
Their excuse.
Yeah. You know, and I think, I mean, you know, I mean, someone please educate me. I mean, why, what qualifies as pre-existing, you know?
Honestly,
you know what I mean? Like they, it's not like when you get the insurance policy, I mean, it's been a number of years since I've read the whole thing, but like, is there a list of things that they consider to be pre-existing? Or is that something that they have decided it's pre-existing after you submit your claim? You know what I mean? Like there's something just so wrong about the whole process, and it always has left me incredibly frustrated, you know, so.
yeah, I don't know if there's an actual list. I know that a lot of insurance companies have like that fine print where it might say what it is. You know, I do know with breeds like my dog, who's a Bernese Mountain Dog, they are prone to getting hip dysplasia, but not until they're much older. So
Right.
they are saying could be pre-existing, but she's never had any issues before. So it can't be, it just can't be. But you know, that is the reason all of these things we're talking about, all the things you ladies have shared and Rick, you've shared is why I said something's got to be done. This isn't right. You know, I struggle trying to find the funds for whiskey, and I know other people are, and that's why I started Buddies, and that's where the idea came from, was, you know, that I know there's so many other people who are struggling, and I believe that it is important that people get help out if they can't, you know, if the insurance companies won't help. And Rick was so supportive of my quest to get whiskey funded and just helping me so much. And so there was no question about it. I was going to name it after Buddy. I mean, there was just no question. Obviously I asked his permission first.
Well, I told you, I told you this before. I had a dream, and he was in my dream probably a few days after we chatted, and he was looking up at me and smiling. I knew he approved. So, you know, I have no problem at all with you naming, you know, your charity after him. But what I think is also awesome, what you told me a few days ago, was that it's not just for canines.
No.
Right.
It's cats, dogs, lizards, everything.
Right.
So it's, you know, I didn't, because you know, I could have just said it's just for dogs because that's all I have, but it's not just about me, you know, it's about everybody, and people have cats they need insured.
Right.
They need help with, they have, you know, lizards and bunnies and horses and pigs, you know, you just never know.
Sure, yeah.
I even fed fish the last time we were on the live, which was you know, you never know.
You never know, yeah. Gabby just printed something about the definition of what's considered a pre-existing condition.
Yeah, Gab used to work in medical billing, so she knows a lot about this.
Oh, okay, great. Can you put that up there one more time, if you can? It just showed up on the screen. Yeah.
I think she's doing, are you doing it? Yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't
Okay.
want to unmute because she has her son with her and he's loud.
No problem.
So it's incurable pre-existing conditions. If your cat or dog has been diagnosed with or show symptoms of the following conditions prior to enrolling, that's a specific insurance plan. Respiratory infections, urinary tract, bladder infections, vomiting, diarrhea, other gastrointestinal disorders, and other curable disease conditions. So essentially, everything that, you know, needs.
See, but that's not fair. Like to you, where your little guy is like a year old, and just because his breed has a 50-50 chance of having hip dysplasia, they say, okay, well, this could be pre-existing. Well, it's
Right.
50-50. I mean, it's a 50-50 chance that I can get cancer because, you know, my grandmother died of lung cancer. So what's the point of that? You can't go back and say it's pre-existing until, you know, it's actually diagnosed in you.
Yeah, exactly. And
They're using that as an excuse not to do it so that they can get away with it.
Mhm.
And then essentially, what are we
totally
paying
agree.
for? Nothing.
exactly.
We're paying them all of our money to do nothing in return for our animals.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not every
Um,
insurance. You know, I know someone tonight who speaking about this chat with, and he loves his insurance. He has True Panion.
what is it called?
True Companion.
Okay.
I've heard of it, but I don't know who it's with. And he says they've been great with his cat.
Okay.
So it's not every insurance, you know, it's
Right.
not, but
Right.
even still, it does. No insurance company will cover everything.
Right.
I think that's what's going to bring up and promote other insurance companies. You find the ones that promote the most best customer service, the ones that are actually there giving a fair profit and benefit margin. And if we promote those and bring those to the top, then others are going to change their business practices.
Right on. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I totally agree. And because as Rebecca and I were talking, we just coincidentally happen to have the same insurance company, which is ASPCA, but I don't know how many there are out there. You know, I remember Banfield, you know, I never heard the one you just mentioned, True something.
Companion or True Panion.
So True Companion. So yeah. So each one probably operates differently, each one probably has their own different policy, you know, for how they handle cats, dogs, birds, whatever the situation may be. But a lot of pet owners, and I just use myself as an example, I was so green, you know, to being a pet parent, and then also, okay, well, I'll get, you know, getting insurance, you know, you just, you know, they send you the email and it looks awesome and it looks great. And, you know, it's like, okay, that looks good. But maybe it's incumbent upon us also to do our homework, you know, and research the different ones that are out there and see which one, or even talk to people, you know. Like, I think that this conversation, I think, is so important because everyone's talking about their own experiences.
And I feel like that's an important point. What Matt and what you were saying is, you know, part of our mission, who is good? Where can we shed light on that and send people who are seeking our help to those people and those companies? And so it's really a larger scale mission that we have.
And highlight what's good about them.
Yes.
I mean, we acknowledge they still have to profit. And we get that. It's a business.
Right.
But what's a fair margin to it?
Right.
You know, if it means they have to charge us $10 more a month, but that $10 more a month means they're going to cover these life-saving procedures, most pet owners are going to go for that every time.
Yeah, and let's showcase those companies that are doing things right.
Well, I got coverage for Whiskey. I got full coverage because when I told people I was getting a Bernese Mountain Dog, they said, you need full coverage to pet insurance because that dog's going to be in and out of the vet a lot because they're prone to different conditions. And I said, okay, great. I'm going to get full coverage. It says they cover everything. I didn't know that they cover everything except for this, and this. And even if you try to submit your claim and they say yes on the estimate that you have to submit to them as well, they may or may not say yes to the actual claim, you know, and they take their time. And I get that it's busy, but it should not take 2 months.
You said you're still waiting, right? Is that what you said?
Waiting. I spoke to the woman. I called her last week and I said, it's been almost 2 months. This is not this is not like a $10 bill. This is a hefty bill. I need to know what's covered, if anything's covered, if I'm getting anything back. I just need to know. And she said, well, it looks like it's still being processed. You know, we've had a lot of claims, but I will expedite your claim. But it looks like you might have some coverage, but I don't know. It looks like, but I don't know.
Right. I would love to. I mean, if with your please,
But
let
you
me,
would
I'm curious. I would love to know
pay all that up
what
front.
what the final outcome of this is, because that is a hefty
too.
bill. Yeah, you know, and you know, they first, I think you said it was the first, they quoted you $10,000, I think it was.
Yeah, that's how much it was.
You know,
Wow.
that's and you know, that's a tremendous amount of money, and especially now during this pandemic, and you know, we got one out of every three working adults out of a job. People are losing their businesses. You know, we are in a horrible recession right now. So, like, to quote someone, it's going to be 10 grand. You know, and then
one
8
hip.
weeks.
If she had to get the other one done, that's another 10 grand. So, you know, and
right,
you know, it's crazy. And obviously I'm going to do whatever I have to for her. But, you know, it made me so sad thinking about, you know, this poor dog. It's my decision. You know, we are in charge of them. These animals, we make their decisions. They can't make them for themselves.
Right.
So whatever we decide, it's going to impact them immensely. And I think that also, you know, kind of ties back into our overall mission is to help as many pets and pet parents as we possibly can.
Sure, yeah.
And you can see Whiskey. I don't know if you see Whiskey in the bottom in Gabby's video. That's my girl.
Where is she?
She's in Gab's video. If you can see.
Oh, she's in Gabby's video.
There she
is. She's such a sweetheart. I love her, man.
Yeah.
So is it possible, taking off of what Matthew said, of doing like a list maybe of just asking people, hey, what insurance do you use and what do you like about them and what have they done? You know, how have they helped you? And, you know, what kind of dog do you have? Like, ask them what kind do they have and, you know, how long have you been with them? Kind of going off of that, so people, you know, when they're looking for insurance, they can say, okay, you know, this is what, you know, because when I look for insurance, you know, the insurance that you're looking for might be great for you because you have, you know, you had a lab and they covered great for labs. But as for terriers, they're not great for terriers because terriers have a lot more issues going on.
Yeah.
So
Right.
maybe if they had a list that they could just go by really quick, it would be easier for somebody to look for and say, okay, you know, this is great. I can just see and see people's comments and say, okay, this is a great company. And I can see somebody I choose off of things like that. That's how I pick, you know, insurances for my health, going, okay, this is how, you know, what people have used in my area, the doctors, and everything. So why wouldn't we do that for our babies as well?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a personal goal of mine, is to get that going and get that conversation going. So I'm asking everyone on my social media and on Facebook and on Instagram, like, we want to hear your stories. We want to know what's not just bad, but we want to know what's good too. You know, so we can get those lists in the hands of people that need them.
Yeah.
And being new to the nonprofit type organization, I feel like it's one of those rocky slopes where you want to promote the ones that are good, but at the same time, you don't want to necessarily have them be the ones that are supporting your organization, because that looks like corruption.
Right.
And so you want to promote the good, but at the same time, you don't want to involve them in it, because then it doesn't look like they're good.
Yeah. Exactly. So, you know, we have to be cautious with how we're doing things.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, Jen did touch on an important topic. We do want to hear your stories, and we've been trying to get stories from people about, you know, their insurance and what they're going through. And, you know, I also want to share that, you know, Jen and I recently found a pet family to actually help. This woman, her dog Truck is his name. He is having liver and kidney failure. And needs some major medical procedures. The price is just, it's like, I think $8,500 or something. It's insane. And this is literally life or death. And while we are still new and still trying to do our fundraisers and our auctions and raise those funds, we are able to help a little bit. So I'm very excited that we're able to help this family and help Little Truck. Whose name
Sure.
I'm officially obsessed with. So.
What type of dog is Truck?
You know, she told me, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But I will let you. I will get back to you on that.
Yeah.
I wrote it down in my notebook.
Oh, good.
I don't know. I'll find it. I'll text it to you later.
Yeah, no worries. So I mean that is our goal, is to help as many pets and pet parents as possible.
Yeah. Is it just too bold to use social media and just call out some folks? You know what I mean? Like, because I sort of just hold things back for a long time, and I haven't really talked about this until you and I started talking about this because of whiskey.
Yeah.
To be quite frank with you. So I like, even before the Zoom today, I was thinking, like, should I just go on? I don't want to go on a hate tirade, but like I would love to at least say something very professionally and very with the right intention about my experience with ASPCA pet insurance. Make the clarification that it's not directly connected to ASPCA, and post something online. Social media. This was my experience. What was your experience? I guess what I'm trying to ask is what's the best way to get as many people collectively to start talking about their own experiences with their pet insurance companies that they've been working with.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to kind of start it, is social media, because that is a very good conversation starter. I think that is important, and I think you are in your right to do that. Obviously, like you said, not go on like a hate tirade about it, but just
right.
Express what you went through and open up that conversation, because I think
right.
A lot of people are going through similar things, and I think a lot of people also are now getting dogs and cats and other animals.
Right.
Are thinking about insurance, and I mean, our situations, yes, we've all had iffy situations, but that doesn't mean everybody will. So that's fine line. We just got to be not like deter people, but just kind of share our story so they have a bigger picture and have a better idea as to what they want to do. Because my dogs don't have the same insurance. Whiskey has one, Loki has a different one.
Right.
Because he's a mix, he doesn't need as much.
Right.
Now it's kind of
I'm so glad you said that, because I mean, honestly, I hadn't thought of that, and Michelle just mentioned that as well. Like, there's like one dog is one breed and then another dog is another breed or a mix, and they have different health concerns according breed specific concerns. Yep. A German Shepherd is going to have a different situation than a poodle, or or a small a terrier. So they're different health because of their bodies and how they're built.
Yeah. So for him I have nationwide, and I don't have full coverage. I have like catastrophic or something. So if like he needs something massive, supposedly they will cover it. I've never used it. I've never had to use it.
Right.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's that old saying? You catch more bees with honey or something like that. So the nicer you put it out there, the more people are going to share it. If it's rude, then people aren't going to share it as much anymore. I'm noticing I don't tend to share hate, because I'm noticing so much hate going out there that I just don't do hate anymore. But if it's nice, I will tend to share it on, because I want people to see that it's out there.
Yeah.
Right.
Our dogs can't speak out and say, I want this insurance, I want that insurance. Our animals can't speak. We have to speak for them.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's hard. Losing our dogs, I'm going to cry. Losing our dogs was the hardest thing in the world, because they're my brothers and sisters. And it was so hard, but we got more years with our dog Princess after having the surgeries. And we had that. We got the more years. We didn't have to cut off her leg. We had to have all 4 of her legs. She got to run, she got to play, she got to be herself until she passed away. Sorry.
Don't
All right. It's all right.
That's family.
That's all right.
Yeah,
That's all right.
They are truly our babies. And yeah, just to have that vet say, just chop off her leg, it was no big deal. And then to find this vet to say, no, let's just take the tumor, and to just continue on to say, okay, let's just keep doing surgeries and in fact, the day she passed was, we were going to do a surgery, and she told us in her own way, no, I'm done. I just want to go home, and I want to be with you. So
I totally hear you. I wish I could reach through the screen and hug you right now, because I lost my buddy a year ago, this coming November 20, and you know, he's with me everywhere. In fact, I hope Rebecca doesn't mind, but I have to show you guys.
I don't mind. I don't know what you're doing, but I don't mind. Oh yeah.
I visited. I was in New York 2 months ago now, and I told Rebecca, I'm in your state. I don't know how far you are from Manhattan, but I can't fly this far and not see you guys. So we worked it out, and I went and spent the afternoon with Rebecca and Whiskey and Loki, Lucy, and then Rebecca's whole family, and we all, the mom, dad, the nieces, nephews. And Rebecca surprised me with this painting that Rebecca's mom did of Buddy.
Aww.
Isn't that cute?
That's so sweet. That's beautiful.
Isn't that cool? Yeah. This is him. You know, it's so funny. The thing is, it's so funny because Buddy hated whenever I wore a hat. Like, he hated it. So this is in the production office of the wardrobe department for the Magicians. And our wardrobe designer said, Buddy has to put on the purple hat. That's the magic hat. So I said, okay, but he's not going to like it. And when you gave this to me, it really touched me. So yeah. And just to get back to what Michelle was saying, about when Buddy was about 9, that was fall of 2016. We went in just for just a physical examination, standard physical exam, and they drew blood and did the whole thing. And then a doctor came out who I had never worked with before, and I'm sitting there in the lobby with Bud, and I'm just sort of ready to take him out to the park and play, because he was 9 years old. He was he looked perfectly fit, healthy, and everything. And she says, we found a tiny little it looks like a tumor inside of his leg, but we're not 100% sure. We don't know if it's cancerous or not. I highly recommend that we take a further look at it, and then not too long after she said that, she mentioned the idea of taking off his leg, and I was like, hold on, slow down, slow down, slow the hell down, please. Wait a second, that's a lot that you just told me within a matter of 2 or 3 minutes,
Yeah.
So and this, that was really the first day of the whole thing, and we went to an oncologist, a specialist, and they took a biopsy, is the word, of the little tumor in his leg, and they said it was cancerous, and they strongly advocated that remove the leg. That was probably one of the hardest days of my life, outside of even my own parents getting sick, because I had to make the decision of what to do, and I thought about it for probably 5-6 days. I couldn't even sleep that night, first couple of nights, I couldn't sleep. And then I said, yeah. And I said, it's going to be up to God. I'm going to, however much time he's got left, I want him to be able to walk on the beach and run and swim and chase squirrels until his very last day. And that's what he did. He actually ended up living almost another 4 years. So it's each person, that burden of what am I going to do? Because like Rebecca just said, our decisions affect their lives, you know, and just like Mallory, your daughter just said, you know, like they can't speak for themselves, you know. So I decided that this young doctor, as brilliant as she probably is, she wasn't the doctor for me. And I had to find someone who was most experienced in the whole place, you know, and that's what I did. And she ended up being Buddy's doctor, and she took care of him, you know. So, you know, everyone has a different experience, you know, with their team of people, you know, and that was my experience. So you know, we found the right doctor to care for him, literally up until the very last day of his life.
Well, I was going to show you, this is how we pay tribute to our babies this is our wall in our room. This is like how we pay tribute to our babies.
Yeah.
And these are the 3 that we lost. And then like literally. So
Yes.
yeah, I can understand. And yeah, when we got the news that our baby had the cancer, I was like, can it just be me? I can handle me. I can't handle her. No. And and when they called, I bawled. And my cousin even goes, "It's a dog." And I was like, you just don't get it.
Just don't get it.
But we had 4 more years.
Don't get it. Yeah.
I have a picture wall like that in my basement.
You got one too?
We had 2 senior dogs who passed in 2017 within a couple weeks of each other.
Wow.
We had a border collie mix, and she had kidney failure.
Yeah.
And just before, and we knew about her for a while. We were treating her and putting her on a special diet. But I had a cattle dog who was 15, and he just keeled over one day and had a seizure.
Oh.
And we were on the way to the emergency vet.
Yeah.
Is that your baby behind you?
My son gave me this. Let me put my earphone out so I can move.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Oh, that's so.
My son sent this.
That's so beautiful.
I got the microphone. My son sent this to me for Mother's Day this year.
That is beautiful.
It's not exact picture of my blue, but it looks a lot like him. In fact, wait.
That's so awesome.
Show you my bubby, my little bubby. If you can see this. This is Precious. This is a border collie.
Gorgeous.
And then down here, this is Blue. He was my cat. Precious lived to be almost 18.
Wow.
And Blue lived, we had her since she was a baby. And Blue we adopted when he was a year old from the shelter. And we had him for, he was probably he was about 15 and a half.
Yeah.
So they both lived a long time.
Yeah.
But neither one of them had a lot of health issues till they were seniors.
Yeah.
Right.
We were very fortunate with them that,
that's kind of how I think it should be.
Yeah. So with them it was just toward the end. And Blue never had any problems till that day he died.
Right.
Precious then, she went about 10 weeks after him, and I think a lot of the reason she went downhill is because he died.
Right.
Yeah.
Matt and Jen, you guys call, had beagles, and our neighbor down the road has a beagle, and every time we see him walking by, he looks like Cooper. And I see him out the door, and I cry, and I'm like, oh, that looks like Coop.
Well, I'm frozen.
Jenna's frozen right now.
I'm trying to show you a picture of Cooper, but I keep freezing. I don't know what's going on.
So it's not just my attachment to my own animals. I attach to other animals that that are family members' animals. I have attachment to all animals. They're babies to me. I would rather be around animals than humans, honestly, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that, I think that's, a big thing that people who don't have animals don't understand, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we were talking a few days ago. I remember when Buddy was a little guy. Actually, my party hangout time I actually balanced it all out really quite perfectly, because I would be out to dinner, you know, out with friends, and I would at my watch, you know, and I'm like, it's 11 p.m. I gotta go. I go. Everyone's like, dude, the nights are early. I'm like, I know, you know, I gotta go home and walk my little pup, you know, and then I may come back maybe in a couple of hours, maybe, you know. Most times I didn't, but
I think
it
we've all
actually,
been there.
yeah, like it actually gave me a structure that I needed in my life, you know, and it sort of made everything actually even, it sort of fine-tuned everything, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that, you know, and all of us can say the same thing, you know. I'm glad that he was part of my life, you know, and still is, you know.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I switched to my phone because the computer wasn't.
We gotta, you know what? Are you gonna show? Yes, that's what I've been waiting for. Let's see.
That's my boy.
Oh,
He was 18 years old.
wow, what a cutie.
We adopted him in California with my mom and dad.
Yeah.
And he was going to be for my mom and dad. And the girls were really little. I think Olivia was like 2 and Sarah must have been like 5 or 6 when we got him. And he saw us, and he was so excited when he saw us at the pound.
Yeah.
An older couple got rid of him. He was too much to handle for them. They couldn't take it. And my mom always wanted us to have a beagle growing up.
Right.
And so we found Cooper. And, you know, of course, Lakers fans, Cooper was there. So it was perfect. I'm like, okay, great. We can convince Dad.
Yeah.
Because my dad was always like, no, you cannot bring anything else home. And I was the one that was always bringing, you know, stray cats home, dogs home. He's like, get this thing out of my house.
Right.
I'm like, no, we need to save them all.
Yeah, that's exactly how I am.
Yeah.
That's funny. That kind of, did I cut you off, Jen? I'm sorry. This is like.
It's okay. I just, let me finish real quick. So we adopted Cooper for my mom and dad, and they both worked full time at the time, and he tore up their house. He ate their Fleetwood Mac the Dance CD. They couldn't find it. He buried their remote in the couch cushions. He took my sister's bras in the backyard and buried her bras in the backyard. And my mom, that's it. So we moved to Idaho, and we lost my dog, Maggie. I had adopted her at my very first job as a courtesy clerk from Albertsons, and she was a puppy. And I got her. And so she ended up passing away, and my mom and dad said, well, we'll give Cooper to Sarah for her birthday. And Matt was like, great, give us the dog that destroys everything. That we're not gonna be. He was the best dog. He wanted to be with the girls. He wanted to be with the kids. He saw those kids, and he knew that those were his kids. And so we made that happen. And he stayed here with us until he passed away. Matt was deployed last year. And in February of last year, Cooper passed away while he was gone. And my mom just so happened to be visiting. And she said, Jenny, she goes, he waited for all of us girls to be together again. Yeah. And I said, I know. And he was like, he was my best friend. He would never leave my side. He would patrol the house outside at night and make sure everything was okay. He would make sure if I got up in the middle of the night that I was all right, and he was going to check on me. He would never leave me. And so when he passed away in February, it was the hardest thing. Yeah. And I still get teary. I look at this photo when I come home from going out, and I feel like he says, hi, Mom. I'm still here.
I just love, may he rest in peace. It's just beautiful. And he kind of reminds me of Buddy, how he sits like, I was sitting like that. And I love the collar, and so nice, beautiful. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, I loved that frame. I saw that, and then I got one for Goomba, so he has one too when it's his turn. So.
Not for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, not for a long time. Long time. Yeah.
10. So
Goomba's gonna be with us a long, long time.
I'm hoping we get 5 more years.
Yeah.
No, longer,
Longer. Yeah.
longer.
Yeah, it's hard, you know. I have only had to, I mean, I didn't, you know, wasn't there, but we've only had to put down one pet. And it was really my dad's dog. It was a 10-year-old Pomeranian we rescued from the shelter, who, I hate to say it, was the biggest jerk ever. We loved him. I mean, he was evil reincarnate, but we loved him. He bit every single person that came into our house. I was married at the time and he absolutely hated him. Not married anymore, so maybe he knew better. But he was just vicious, but we loved him, you know. And we had him for about, and Gabby can shake your head, yes or no. We had him for about, like, I think 5 years or so. Oh, she doesn't know. And, he had cancer, and we had to, you know, ultimately put him down. And, you know, it was sad, but I can't, you know, like, I have my dog Logie sleeping next to me right now. I can't, you know, and Whiskey's upstairs. They're my babies. I used to sleep in the room with Whiskey, and now I'm sleeping in a different room, and I feel that guilt. Like, I feel like I'm abandoning her, you know, and so you just, like, feel all these different emotions.
Oh God.
Pets, and I can't imagine comes what I, you know, having to make that decision, or just, you know, I don't even know if I would be better if she just kind of,
I'm sorry, Ty.
you know, went, or if I, you know, it's just,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
We had Brittany Spaniels before we got them, before we actually got Arcadian Ty. And we got them, our dandy girl that, I called her my scratch and dent dog, because at 4 weeks old, one of the older dogs in the first pack of pups that they had bred, they had bit her, and I had taken care of her, and the owner said, she's too much to handle. You have to feed her and everything. And so they just gave her to me at 4 weeks old, and I had her brother. And we had him, Dandy was 14 when she passed, and Spud was 15 when he passed. And both of them, we had to put them to sleep, both of them. And they're both buried side by side with their other brother, Junior, that my mom and dad had. And they're all buried at my uncle's house. But Cooper, that Jenny and Matt had, when I'd go in the door, I'd say, Aunt Shell's here. And he'd go,
his infamous bay.
Yeah. And now they have Goomba, and I go in and she'd say, now he gets a little too excited, and I'm like, Goomba, Goomba, Goomba. And I just get him all riled up, and you know, and he bites at me, and I'm like, it's okay, it's all right, I'm all good with it. He jumps, she's like, don't jump, and I'm like, come on, and she's like, don't jump, and I'm like, come on.
He's gotten a lot better, but when we first went to adopt him from the Bully Breed Rescue here in Idaho, and Matt, here the girls are bringing him in to me, so he can say hi. I was he says I was sleeping in my kennel. So he jumped up to Matt, and he, like, hit Matt in the face with his nose. I mean, he was so excited to be out of the kennels and to be in someone's home. And so I saw a picture of him online, and I'm like, that's my boy. Like, I have to go get that handsome boy. That's my boy.
Can we see him again? Can you see him again?
Hang on.
Hey, dude.
He's a big boy, but you know what? He's so
yeah. He's a big baby. I love him. Oh, man.
My sister and brother-in-law had a dog that looked like him, and his name was Yogi, and we called him Rah Rah, because he'd always go rah 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 rah. He's a big baby. Lucky.
Yeah.
How many pounds does he weigh, Jen?
80.
80 pounds.
80.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's at 80. He was at 75 when we came in.
Yeah.
I think a year ago. He's at 80 now. Yeah.
80 pounds.
Yeah.
80 pounds.
Oh, he's throwing a fit.
Come here, Tay.
He's throwing a fit. He's like, I've had it.
He's really nice. Yeah.
Usually,
It's,
I put his paw treatment on earlier, and he did this. He like laid across the whole couch like that, scooting across the whole couch. I'm like, oh, you're gonna throw a fit? I'm gonna record you, and then of course, yeah.
So, Jen, I think, do you want to kind of explain a little more, like about what we have going on and and a little more about like what we want to accomplish on the fund development side?
Sure. So right now, what I've been working on is grant writing, because we're trying to get steady funding for buddies, and there are a lot of places that give grants to nonprofits. So we're kind of trying to get that off the ground to get a solid footing. And then once that is off the ground, then we will have all of these fundraising opportunities like we're currently doing, going to, fund more of our, so the grant writing's for the business side, and then the fundraising is for everyone else, the people that we want to help and everything. So right now, 100% of what's going on with our fundraisers with people like Rick and other people in the industry are donating their time and, autograph photos and everything to be auctioning off to get that money for people like Michelle or people like, Becca, who needed the funding for their animal surgeries. We're having people sign up on our website to go ahead and tell us their story, what they need, what their pet needs for surgery.
Right.
And that way we're kind of vetting what we can do in that moment. If we can give $100, we'll give $100. If we can fully fund it, we'll fully fund it. The goal eventually is to be capable of fully funding it for whoever needs it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what our fundraising ideas are right now. The big one for fall is probably going to be this. I love to dress up. It's no secret I'm a little bit extra. It's okay.
It's totally okay.
I love to get dressed up and go out and have a good time. And I was looking at all these pretty dresses online, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it'd be so much fun to have prom all over again, right? And so I texted Becca, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we should have prom for pets, as a fundraiser. And she's like, I love it, but how would we do that? So we're thinking after pandemic, we may have a larger scale event like that where people can get tickets to go. And then we would have these auction items, which we're doing now on our website at tables at the event for people to bid on. So that's kind of where this all came about and what we're looking forward to in the future. We're going to be doing other fundraising events, not as big as this, but for different months of the year. So
yeah, and I know, Rick, you just finished doing yours.
Yeah, we did. I was on with Daphne yesterday. We talked for a couple hours, about 2.5 hours, and I don't know what the ultimate auction bid amount was. You don't have to tell me. It's okay.
It was a lot. It was a good amount.
Yeah, okay. But I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure where she was. I thought she was on the West Coast, but it turns out she lives in outside of Washington D.C. She lives, I believe, in Maryland. So we worked it out, and we talked. I thought she wanted to have a conversation about the magicians or supernatural, but it turns out she wanted to have a conversation about the Magnificent Seven. And that's when Rick was a very, very much younger actor, and that's when Rick could eat anything and didn't pick up any weight. That was a show, one of my first shows I ever did. It was over 24 years ago, But she's a huge fan, as is Mallory as well. And and I was so green, and so I looked at. It's funny, during the pandemic, everyone everyone did their own thing in terms of addressing isolation and self-isolation and sheltering and quarantining. And we all have similar stories. I read a lot of books, and thank God, that's actually a very good thing. And just bought some more books a few days ago. And I also binge watched probably way too much TV. You know, I watched James Bond movies probably 4 or 5 times over, like each one. James Bond fanatic. And then I also binge watched Magnificent Seven, and that's from 1996, 97. So, and it was one of those things where I was sort of getting a kind of a picture of my life over the last 20 years, 25 years or so, during this unprecedented global pandemic, which we haven't seen in 101 years, you know. So I don't know, I just kind of wanted to take a look at everything, I guess, you know, and it made me think about a lot of things, a lot about Buddy and me and our life together. And also coming out, you know, when I got back to LA, which was end of May, and when I landed at the airport, I started crying because I hadn't been back home, you know, since before the pandemic, you know. And my car is still parked in Vancouver, actually, believe it or not. They won't let me cross the border to go get it. But I called the place at the airport, and they said I won't be liable for anything after, you know, X amount of date, because, you know, who knew that a pandemic was coming. Yeah. But it made me think about, and I may have mentioned this to you, Rebecca, it made me think about what more can I do in my life to make this world a better place, you know? And when you mentioned, you know, your charity, I said, man, that's definitely something that I want to be part of, you know, and to help people, and to help our furry babies, and also to help, you know, the parents of the furry babies as well, you know. And my life has sort of taken I think a really positive turn, because it's not, you know, it's not just about me, you know. Even though Buddy's gone, you know, like, he's still part of my life, and I still want to have an impact on other people and their pets as well, you know. And I'm racking my brain trying to figure out. Even Rebecca, we were talking a few days ago. I said, like, what more can I do? You know what I mean? Like, what more can I do? Like, I can repost all day long, but is that enough? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what more can I do to help the cause, you know?
Yeah, I think, you know, and I've told you this, I just think keeping the word going and spreading the word as much as we possibly can, that we do exist. We are very new, you know. I think I started this in August, you know, and so we're slowly, you know, growing up that hill, but it's a process. You know, being a nonprofit is so difficult because everything is on you. You know, so I think that's just spreading the word and getting it out there as much as we can is so important.
Right.
And not only that, you know, a lot of celebrities and different businesses we talk to are already attached to nonprofits. They're already donating to different places. And so we hear a lot of no's. We hear a lot of great yeses, but we hear a lot of no's for that very reason, is that they're already attached to things. And we are very green, and we are very new.
And we don't have the funding to pay some of them who they're, you know, more about what are you going to give me than I'm just going to donate to you.
Right.
We're asking for them the time and the, you know, memorabilia as donations.
Right.
Right.
You know?
Can I just connect? I don't want to step on anyone's. I want to be careful about the questions I'm asking, because does anyone know about, or is it proper for a nonprofit to seek, I assume grant funding? Is that grant funding? And then is that something that's part of the trying to procure funds? And then also and then what about you hear the term angel investor or angel donor, that type of business entity or an individual who decides to write a big check, you know, that type of person. Yeah. But I've heard that term only in terms of like a for-profit venture. But if someone could explain that to me, you know, I don't know what everyone does for a living, but I'm a big student. I'm a student, so please educate me.
Well, so from what I found out is that if someone does donate, it is a donation that we can go ahead and use that as a donation toward the nonprofit. That's fine. Like an angel giver,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay.
You know, another great thing for that, you know, that I've been looking into is as we develop the business side of this, we're going to need a board of directors. We're going to need people, you know, on that board in order to help us with financing and managing that money and, you know, checks and balances in terms of what we are doing with the funding that we're getting, you know. So that's a whole other aspect of things as well. So I'm sure if somebody wanted to donate in that way, that we could allow them to be a board member, if that makes sense, to help us.
And your board has to not include people that do not donate. Like your board has to be people that does not, you know, that are not like
donating to the
funding the charity. Yes.
Okay.
But as for charity donors, yes, you can. I was PTA president for 7 years. And we had people that actually were like angel donors too, because we were a poor school. And so you can have that. And they are. As for donations, what I want to know is I have 2 people who I know, one that 2 of them I went to school with, that I'm not going to guarantee they will, but I'm pretty sure they will give. But are you auctioning off like to give specifically to one person, or are you just giving it 100% back to the charity and then it's going to whoever needs it, or are you just giving it to one person?
Well, we have, aside from Truck, we have a couple of other dogs that we're trying to help. Who have reached out to us.
Right.
So we're taking a look at everyone that's submitted and looking at, you know, because we are still building our funding, we're looking at the most dire cases. So right now, you know, the ones that need it immediately, the ones that are, you know, life or death. If it's like, you know, they need, you know, something else that can wait a little longer, or, you know, is not, I need this now, or, you know, it's going to die. That's
right. I think the more people that can, you know, that can help, I think the better. And you know, I'm always open. You know, Rebecca says, "Well, can you please repost this?" I'm like, I'd be happy to. You know, but I feel like I'm not nearly doing enough. So, you know, I'm always trying to, you know, well, I mean, if you're happy, I'm happy. You know, but like I'm always trying to find out what more that we can do. And someone said a nonprofit is, you know, I've never run a nonprofit or anything like that. You know, I can imagine the challenges of it, you know.
Yeah, it's hard. You know, it's
a learning curve, that's for sure.
Learning curve, yeah.
Especially filing all that paperwork and getting all the proper stuff in order. It's a lot. You know, I used to work for a nonprofit. I worked for Girl Scouts for a while. So I saw a lot of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the preschool that I worked at prior to this was a nonprofit as well. So, I mean, I went to the board meetings and I saw the ins and outs of what it took to run that. So,
right.
PTA's run as a nonprofit.
Mallory, you're too quiet over there. I would love to hear what your thoughts are.
Well, I was just thinking about, you know, Jenny Moore is going to do another Mag 7 convention next year.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's trying to get one organized in Sacramento.
Okay.
And they usually do a fundraiser of some type. Yeah. So maybe we should approach her. I know her, you know her, and see maybe if she would put Healing Paws as their fundraiser.
I would totally be down with that, Mallory. Maybe we can like double team and approach her and say, you know, this is the cause. She loved Buddy. She never met Buddy, but she always loved pictures of him on Instagram.
Yeah.
And when I had Twitter 10,000 years ago, I would put, you know, pictures up.
Yeah. But I was thinking about that because she posted
90% of the time it was me and Buddy. So
she's been posting a lot on Facebook.
Okay.
That she's got plans going, and maybe tag team her and see if they would do that as their fundraiser. I also thought too, I put some stuff out on Facebook, and a lot of the Mag 7 fans that I'm friends with really liked hearing about Buddy's Healing Paws.
Oh, wow. Okay, great.
Yeah, a lot of them were very interested in it. And I was telling them, check out they're on Instagram, check them out on Facebook.
For sure. Because it's, my brother, I did everything they said. I canceled my Facebook page years ago, but my brother told me that it's still there, and but I don't use it. But I know a lot of people stay in touch by Facebook, but all I use is Instagram. So would you please be a sweetheart and tell everybody that?
Yeah, I definitely will.
Well, I'm recording this, as you guys already see and know. So I'm going to post this so people know that they can hear the conversation.
Oh, okay.
You know, as long as everyone's okay with that.
Oh yeah, that's fine. What else can we do as just Joe Blow citizens, not celebrities?
Yeah.
I think even joining in on this conversation and spreading the word about, who we are, what we're trying to accomplish, is key, because the more people that spread the word, the better. It's, we can do as much as we can. I've been doing, you guys might have seen all my Facebook ads and Instagram ads. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
But, I'm only one person, Jen's only one person, Rick's only one person, and we all have other things going on. So it's very hard just to keep that momentum and that word going. So more that can blast it out, the better.
Yeah.
I think that.
I think right now, like, social media and word of mouth is really like the way to go.
Yes.
And the more we talk about it and the more momentum it gets and the more follows we get and the more likes we get and all of that stuff, then it'll build that way, and it could just end up snowballing.
Now, how are you set up if people want to make just a private donation? Maybe they can't do a lot of money, but do you have a PayPal account or something that they can donate to?
We have on our website, we have a link where you can send a donation to.
Oh, okay.
It's anonymous. It doesn't have to be,
People here in Treasure Valley that we follow that on a regular basis that we can reach out to.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that.
Go ahead, Becca.
No, I was just gonna say, I think all this stuff is really great, for what we need to accomplish and what we want to accomplish, and, being able to help as many animals as we can, but also I need to say that our time is going to end shortly because I'm getting a little notification popping up.
Oh, okay.
It's like, you've been talking too long.
Well, thanks so much for doing this. And, it's, I'm one of these folks who, this is maybe my 4th Zoom ever. So.
It's my second.
It's your second.
Both with me, right, Jen?
Yeah.
And Mallory, I don't know, you have used Zoom before, haven't you?
Just once before. My niece lives in California, and it was my great nephew's first birthday.
Oh, nice.
We did a Zoom birthday party, and next month my great niece will be 4. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah, so we do a family Zoom.
Do a Zoom party.
Yeah, everybody's all over the place. So
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
My youngest nephew graduated college on Zoom. So he said, "Hey, as the uncle, I'm like, oh man."
Yeah.
Like, I really wanted him to walk the stage, but he said, "Hey man, I got my degree. I'm happy, so."
Yeah,
but I'm glad that technology is available so we can do this, and I would totally be down for doing this again.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think we can do it, to kind of update people and as more come along, and it's a good way to get the word out too. So
because I think that's amazing, and it gives you the idea that it is possible, that you can start small and then have something really great funding, I think that is the goal,
Yeah. That is the ultimate goal, is to help. It's not to turn anybody down for help.
Right.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so.
Yeah.
And also I want to say that, you know, if you guys want to share your stories with us about your, you know, experiences with the insurance, I started a blog on our site. Jen, I think I gave you access to it so you can help monitor it as well. Love to get some stories up there. I can do it anonymously, you know, however you guys want to do it, but I would just love to get more stories out there and get this, you know, message going so people know what insurance companies are good and what aren't so good. And, you know, we'll get on that list, Jen, about what is good, what's not, you know, the pros and cons of each company as best we can.
Sounds good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. For
Thank you, everybody. So great to meet everybody, and thanks for taking time out on your Sunday evening to talk about something that's so important. And I know buddies somewhere nearby listening in. So he's watching.
Always.
Yeah.
Y'all
Mallory, so great to see you, Mallory. I love you. I hope we can see each other again. I really do.
Hey, if you're ever in Pittsburgh.
Hey, I'll let you know.
You got to give me a holler. We get together and go have coffee.
That sounds perfect.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Take care.
Okay. Thank you. Good night.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Jen. Bye, Michelle.
Bye.
Okay.